On November 21, 2023, at 2:47 p.m. Pacific Time, sitting in a Seattle hotel room, I stepped down as CEO of Binance. For 6 years, my phone had been a constant stream of alerts, messages, and demands. But the moment I hit send on my resignation, a heavy silence filled the room. The notification ceased. The buzzing completely stopped. In that sudden quiet, the reality set in. For the first time since launching the company, I was no longer responsible for the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. Outside that room, the media was already broadcasting loud headlines and severe corporate jargon. But inside, there was no press release to capture the private reality of stepping away from the empire I built. The Department of Justice announced a $4.3 billion penalty against Binance, the largest corporate resolution in Treasury history. As part of the settlement, I pleaded guilty to violating the Bank Secrecy Act, willfully failing to maintain an adequate anti-money laundering program. People look at those staggering numbers and naturally try to fit me into a neat, easily digestible box. Some demand a villain who deliberately broke the rules. Others prefer to see a visionary hero. The truth is much more mundane. I am a software engineer. I built a system far larger than I ever anticipated, and I made serious, consequential mistakes along the way. To understand how we arrived at a multi-billion-dollar settlement, you have to look at the underlying tension that drove my early decisions, the instinct to solve every problem with code, colliding directly with a world built on rigid bureaucratic rules. Growing up, my family moved 12 times before I turned 18. That kind of transience teaches you to adapt quickly to new environments, but it also ensures you never develop the instinct to stay in one place and submit to a strict set of local regulations. Instead, I found my structure in logic. When I encounter a problem, my default setting is to write a program to fix it. Code is clean, predictable, and borderless. Compliance, on the other hand, is slow, subjective, and tied entirely to geography. In 2013, I was 36 years old, sitting in a modest Shanghai apartment, reeling from a failed startup. Then I read the Bitcoin white paper. This diagram illustrates exactly what captivated me: an elegant mathematical system. It showed how real financial value could move directly from person to person, completely removing the traditional banks, intermediaries, and human gatekeepers that slow down legacy finance. Within 4 years, that single realization transformed me from an unknown programmer into the architect of the infrastructure required for an entirely borderless financial world. When we launched Binance, the strategy was entirely focused on the user. We prioritized rapid, frictionless growth above all else, largely bypassing the traditional regulatory frameworks that dictated how legacy financial institutions operated. But there is an inherent paradox in building Web3. If you successfully construct a massive, frictionless platform that operates without middlemen, you guarantee you will eventually face the ultimate intermediaries. Those intermediaries are the world's most powerful governments. They are institutions that demand control, and they enforce that control not through elegant programming, but through mandated compliance. My critical error was assuming that a superior technological solution could completely replace the necessity for a human-driven legal compliance department. The specific traits that allowed Binance to scale into a global empire, speed, adaptability, and a disregard for legacy friction, were the exact same traits that left us legally exposed to the full force of the state. The consequences of prioritizing code over compliance materialized in a federal courtroom. At my sentencing hearing, the prosecution pushed for 3 years of prison time. The judge ultimately handed down a sentence of 4 months. I served that time isolated inside a low-security federal facility in Lompoc, California, entirely cut off from the industry I helped build. I was released in September. A year later, I was sitting on a flight at 35,000 feet, staring out at a thick blanket of clouds, when a news alert flashed. President Donald Trump had just granted me a full and unconditional pardon. The official White House statement explicitly recognized my role in advancing blockchain technology and financial inclusion. A pardon legally erases a felony conviction from your record. It clears the paperwork, but it does not erase the months spent locked in a facility, the years of grueling legal proceedings, or the gravity of the decisions that put me there. The reaction was immediate. Critics like Representative Maxine Waters publicly condemned the decision, labeling me a crypto criminal and framing the pardon as a blatant act of political favoritism. I am telling my own story now because others have already tried, and many of them have gotten important details wrong. This expanding node network illustrates the results of that story. The cryptocurrency industry is now a multi-trillion-dollar ecosystem that touches every corner of global finance. This is the ultimate validation of the original vision. Despite billions of dollars in penalties, federal convictions, and intense government scrutiny, the core technology never faltered. The borderless code continues to move value exactly as it was designed. I took the personal hits and accepted the legal consequences, but the code remains, and the global network outlasted the individual who started it.